Hey, everybody. Welcome to a quick little candy coated conversation where I have a story of, I guess I would term it a story of survival. A lot of times, women and men also, it does happen to men, get themselves involved in DV relationships and basically have to see themselves out. And when they are coming out of a relationship like this, sometimes it's with a lot of pain. So let's jump into this story um, and take a listen here, okay? I'm going to pull it up and share it and listen to this young lady's story. It may just help someone. Okay, here we go, you guys.
Rika Williams, and I'm a survivor of a brutal attack. I was 19 when I met him. He's from Chicago, Illinois, but he was living in Fort Wayne, Indiana at the time. So he got in a little legal issue carrying weapons. So I decided that I wanted to keep his things while he went away for 9 months to a work release program, which is technically jail, but they give you an opportunity to work still. And that's what he was doing. And I basically kept his apartment and his car. We were together. So, I was still paying, his bills, making sure that he didn't lose anything. We were working at the same place, building furniture. It was a lot of domestic violence before this happened. I just didn't want to be embarrassed and move
Okay.
back home after I made that decision to leave. It was a new relationship. We went to Vegas the next week after Atlanta. In Vegas, he got really, 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 and he hit me in the back of my head with a cranberry juice bottle. That's when the violence started. That was the very first time. Instead of me telling the cops that it was him, I lied and said he didn't touch me. And he told them that I hit him. I was at the Venetian Hotel, so they could have ran the cameras back.
Okay, you guys, let's pause right here. Now, a lot is going on. And before this brutal attack, she's stating that there was a lot of domestic violence in their relationship already. So, look, as women, and if you're a man, you got to stop ignoring those red flags. You got to stop ignoring it and think it's going to be better. And as that saying goes, when someone shows you who they are, you have to believe them. If they're whooping on you from day one, you have to believe that's the type of person they are. So, let's hear.
But the reason why I lied for him is because he was technically not supposed to leave the state if you out on bond for the charges. I went to jail for domestic battery in Las Vegas, and I had to stay in jail for 25 hours because I chose to lie for him, basically. Since he was so, I was trying to explain to them that he already had an OWI pending. That was his third offense. So that's why he ended up getting time for that, for the OWI, because he's a repeat offender. The cop didn't want to hear nothing I had to say after I told them a lie, pretty much. In Vegas, they do not favor women because women do a lot of prostitution. So they treated me like that when I was in jail, like I was a prostitute. They treated me like that. They was very rude, disrespectful. Vegas jail is the worst. So it was a real bad experience on that Vegas trip. It was $1,500 to get out, and he bailed me out of jail. So I continued to talk to him. I don't know why, but I kind of made excuses because you're drinking. You're not that person when you're not drinking. I made excuses. So that's when I decided to move with him right after that. I hit him. I was at the
Okay. So, you guys heard her say basically that, out of jail, even though she was in jail because she was taking the fall for him. But he did go get her out. So she felt like that meant he loved her. So she was sticking with it. So let's get that.
22. I actually found out that I was pregnant from the incident. We got into an argument about him being in his car listening to music, and he came in and loud and belligerent and calling me names. And after that, it was raining. It was raining outside. So I said, I'm just getting tired of you putting your hands on me. I had to snatch the blinds and curtains and everything down off the off the window. I said, if you're gonna put your hands on me, everybody gonna see it this time. So I lifted up the window and I kind of went a little crazy so that he wouldn't, I tried to put fear in his heart. Like if I really act crazy right now, maybe he won't hit me, and that didn't happen. But definitely hit me. I started throwing things all over everywhere and I left out and I ran out down the stairs. He chased me down the stairs with the hammer in his hand. I had a pair of pliers in my hand. I had dropped the pliers before I even left out of the building. He came behind me with the hammer and swung it, hit me in my head. I dropped, of course, to the ground. It was pouring down rain, and then hit me before he took off. So he took off, and all of the neighbors ran out the doors like I was screaming. And one of my neighbors ran out the door, and he was asking me, "Am I okay?" And I said, "Don't worry, help is on the way." He called a paramedic and they came, took me to the hospital. That's when I refused to tell them because they definitely called the cops and the cops met me at the hospital and they was asking me and I said I wasn't going to tell. I didn't tell them. And that was a couple of days before he was actually, maybe 2 weeks actually, before he left to go to jail.
You see how in love these women can be with these men, even though they're being abused and hurt physically, mentally, emotionally. But these men will have your head to where even when you're harmed and in the hospital, they refuse to tell.
So he got in a little legal issue carrying a weapon. So I decided that I wanted to keep his things while he went away for 9 months and I didn't cooperate. So that day they knew that he put his hands on me, but they knew that I wasn't going to tell from the whole hammer incident, battered woman syndrome is what they called it, that I was not going to tell. So I didn't that day either. But he punched me. I was big then. I was probably like 5 months. So he punched me continuously, and I put my hand up like this to block, and he just kept hitting. He was very violent. He was a very violent person. So yeah, there was a lot of incidents of different times that he put his hands on me. I've reached out to his friends and let them know, and tried to get them to talk to him about not putting his hands on me. Nothing would work. His mom defended him every time. Nothing would work. And I never told any of my family or friends. So nobody knew what was going on. That next morning is when he told me he was going to the car wash. I said, okay. He went to a car wash and I noticed in the refrigerator that he took, I guess he fixed a cup and left the. So I'm like, how did he drink this much out of this bottle? There's no way they could have done that because the day before he didn't drink. On that Sunday, he took the. So I was kind of scared because I'm like, here he goes again. Here he goes again with the drinking. Early in the morning. It's early. Why are you drinking? You know, I was on the phone with my cousin the whole entire day. And I was scared because every time he drinks, he put his hand on me. And I asked him not to. So that day, the whole entire day, I kept saying, stop drinking so much. When he finally got back from the car wash, I was like, you're just drinking too much. We got into it about the baby. And I said, we're going to have a co parent because you're not going to stop drinking. You're not going to stop putting your hands on me. And I let him talk me into moving in that apartment because it was a bigger apartment, it's 2 bedroom instead of that one that we were living in. The reason why I said I left out a major part is because you remember the cops were called for that hammer incident. When my cousin called the cops for this incident, they went to the other apartment. So they didn't even think that she had the right address. So it took them some time to get there because they didn't know that I had moved. We were texting back and forth, and he ended up going to Applebee's, I guess, and cooling off after the argument. When he went to Applebee's, he drank 2 more drinks. When he came back, he said, well, he texted me, he said, let's go to Burlington. I said, okay. So I'm thinking that he was just gonna, let everything that we had done argue about that day go, and we were just gonna go to Burlington to go shopping. Well, that didn't happen because he came back in and started arguing again. As he argued with me, I kept telling my cousin, he's very and I'm scared. I was sitting on the couch and he pulled a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver out of his pocket and commenced to stabbing me. Only thing that I said to this guy, which is recorded, they have this, I gave the court this whole recording of it. It was audio. I said, I'm on the phone with my cousin. And he said, F your cousin. And he just started stabbing me. Before that, he said he wanted to see where his keys were at because he was gonna leave again. I took his keys because I felt like, okay, you don't have this OWI. This is why I'm here in the first place, to make sure you don't lose everything and self-destruct. But he didn't want to hear any of that. He wanted his keys and he still wanted to leave, and he still wanted to leave while he was very, and he looked me in my eye and he just pulled that screwdriver out of his pocket and he just started stabbing me in my head. My head was first, and then it's my face, and then slammed me on the floor. This whole time I really couldn't do much because I was really big, pregnant. Stabbed me in the back of my throat with the screwdriver, my teeth chipped, slid it down my face, stabbed me on my arm, my leg, all on my shoulder, all in my head, in the back of my neck. I mean, everywhere he could stab, in the corner of my eyes, inside my ear. Every morning I had to drain my ear with blood every single morning. Waking up in the hospitals, couldn't hear out of my ear for a while. The back of my throat, I couldn't swallow. I was begging him to stop, and
This is just a horrific story. But these type of stories need to be told because they happen all the time. And some of these women never make it out. She's lucky she made it through her attack.
I just said, think about your mom. Just think about your mom, man. Please just think about your mom. He's like, shut the F up. And I was still like begging him to stop. And just wouldn't. He's like, you're gonna die today. And only thing I was thinking is like, please just let me see my daughter. I want to see my baby. He said, you don't deserve to be a mother. And he just kept stabbing. He just wouldn't stop until the cops kicked the door in. And he still was stabbing me. He still was on top of me. And they just put the guns on him. And he stopped. My cousin called the cops and also the neighbor. The neighbor is who got the cops there because they thought that she didn't know the right address. So when the neighbors called, they knew this is the same incident, this is the same person. So yeah, they came. But it just took forever. And it was a total of 21 minutes and like 35 seconds. So I definitely have that still recorded. I didn't forget nothing. I didn't forget not one thing. You don't forget that kind of stuff. I probably forget a car accident details before I would forget that. I could never forget that. Oh, the paramedics and cops showed up at the same time, pretty much, maybe a minute apart or something. They kind of just left me there on the floor. They didn't touch me. They said I was unrecognizable. My face was like really, really swollen. So they left me right there on the floor, and they took me out in a sheet. So I actually thought I was dead because of the white sheet. I'm like, I'm dead. This guy really killed me. So you don't really know being stabbed up so much, you don't really know if you've been living you don't know how death feels. So I didn't know. But then they kept rubbing my chest because I kept going, out. They kept like rubbing my chest to keep me up. And they said, we got 7 minutes before we get to the hospital and just hold on. You're not gonna die. We're not gonna let you die. But it's not much you can do once when you're pregnant. It's not much they could have done. But yeah. So I'm just bleeding a lot. The hospital, the first 3 days, I don't remember that because they had me on a whole lot of. So when I got to the hospital, they took pictures, of course, and the cops came. They tried to talk to me. Well, I couldn't, talk at the time. Couldn't even swallow or couldn't do anything. So they had to come back on the fifth day. I think he came back on the fifth day. I didn't have my phone. My phone went dead. She was on the phone the whole time until that 21 minutes was up, and it was stuck between my couch. So the cop went went back to my apartment and got my phone and brought me my phone. Then I realized all of this was recorded. So then I told the cop, the detective that was investigating it, all of this is on the phone. So then I had to go to the police station and they took the recording off my phone since it was so large. I couldn't send it through email. They managed to do it though. They managed to get the recording off my phone. At that moment, I was alone. I didn't have friends. I didn't have family. Nobody came to the hospital but like doctors and things like that. People like that. People from the courts that help women with domestic violence.
Also not unusual in these type of situations, these abusers alienate you from your family and friends so you don't have anyone to talk to and so that no one will believe you when you go to say the things that you've been through.
They came, brought gifts and things like that, but I didn't have friends or family there. So I was there by myself for 10 days in the hospital. Not knowing if my baby was going to make it was the worst part of it all because she was breached and they were feeling like they were going to lose her. And that's how they were saying at first. They were going to try their best, but she made it. Like I said, I was in the hospital for 10 days. They recommended me to go to the shelter, but since I just had moved in an apartment, I decided not to. When I went back to my apartment, it was a bloody nightmare. It was really, blood was everywhere. I had 6 pillows from the couch. They were soaked. Rug, I had to throw all of that stuff away. They were soaked. The rug was soaked. There was blood everywhere, splattered over the fireplace. So I had to clean up. Well, my cousin came up there, which is, and my grandma was 75 at the time. She took her first flight. Her and my cousin came and they helped me clean up. After that, it was just sitting home. I was just at home. My job secured my position and they actually extended my short term to long term because he also worked there. So it was on the news everywhere and they knew what happened. So they held my job for a long time and I just decided not to go back. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I never had the strength to go back. So I was on, they told me to file unemployment. My job helped out a lot. They paid me. You know, I was able to take care of my bills and stuff, just sitting at home and resting. And I got so depressed that I came back home to South Carolina. And then I went into labor pretty much early, trying to exercise. I tried to walk. So I was walking and then my water broke. So I was in the hospital for another 3 weeks waiting on my baby to come. Well, trying to hold her longer, trying to keep her longer. So I was on bed rest. Kind of stayed and made sure she was okay. I had her at 33 weeks in one day, and she came out 5 pounds 2 ounces. So I have a friend that had her baby at 33 weeks in one day, same time, and he came out 2 pounds and something. It wasn't the worst thing for me to be on bed rest. It was probably a good thing. I was just depressed. Now I have to sit in this hospital bed for another almost 21 days. Those are a lot for me mentally. And at this point right now, I still haven't gotten counseling. So I probably need to do that. I need therapy. The only way that I can not cry about it if I don't think about it while I'm talking about it. I can keep it together most of the time. I definitely wouldn't mind helping, even saving one life, just walk, no matter how hard it is, because we don't want to be alone. We don't want to feel relationship or feel marriage. You want to keep your family together and just do anything to do that. But the whole time you're going through so much pain and it's not worth it. He was going to definitely take my life. I think that he's more upset from not completing it. I don't think the time bothered him. The time in prison, he got 40 years, but that doesn't bother him. What bothers him is that I survived. I'm about to turn 36 on the 28th of February, so I got like another month. I'll be 36. My baby is doing wonderful. She's walking now. She's trying to talk. I'm happy I survived with her. And now I'm just trying to see where life takes me next. I'm trying to start a business so I can be financially secured for both her and I. I recently moved back to South Carolina in December. I'm away, far, far away from him. He's in the prison system in Indiana. And life has just, you know, been a lot better not being abused. I'm a lot happier not going to sleep at night worrying about if somebody's going to touch me tomorrow or do any harm to me at all. I would just say nothing is ever going to change about an abuser. If they did it one time, no matter how many times they apologize, they're going to do it again. But no matter.
Okay, you guys. Um, the only takeaway that I really can take from that story is that, I mean, you got to listen to the clues when they're right in your face. Um, I mean, we all know hindsight's 2020, but when someone is immediately abusive with you can't always take it that they're going to change or that that was a one-time thing. They're showing you who they are from the start, and we definitely have to start listening because, you know, literally your life could be on the line if you accept certain types of behavior. and allow things to continue thinking that they're going to stop. So definitely want to thank her for sharing that story. And thanks you guys for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the next, see you next Candy Coated Conversation.